Please welcome to our webinar, Classroom Data Made Easy, Creating a System That Works by Dr. Brittany Holmes. Brittany?
Thank you, Caesar. Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to be diving into how to build a manageable classroom data system. The goal is to help you collect meaningful data without becoming overwhelmed. This system will be practical, time efficient, and easy to start using tomorrow. So let's go ahead and jump right in. Today's learning objectives. At the end, you should be able to identify key skills and behaviors to monitor and track data within your classroom. You should be able to select an effective format for collecting and organizing student data. And lastly, you should be able to construct a practical and efficient system for tracking student performance and outcomes. So before we talk about a data system that you could use, let's go over briefly what is progress monitoring. So progress monitoring refers to the process of collecting and analyzing data to assess students' performance, evaluate instructional effectiveness, and guide evidence-based interventions. It is especially critical for learners with special needs, helping educators tailor instruction, track growth over time, and ensure improved student outcomes. Now, there are many benefits to progress monitoring. These are just some of the few that you should keep in mind when you're thinking about why I should use progress monitoring. So the first is early intervention. The benefit is regular progress monitoring helps educators quickly identify students who are falling behind, allowing for timely interventions. This early detection can prevent small problems from becoming more significant issues. For an example, a student struggling with reading fluency can receive targeted support before their difficulties affect overall academic performance. Another benefit is personalized learning. By tracking individual progress, teachers can modify instruction more effectively, offering more targeted support for students at varying levels of ability. An example of this would be a teacher might provide extra practice for struggling students while offering enrichment activities for those who are excelling in the content that you're teaching. Another benefit, data-driven decision-making. So teachers can adjust their teaching strategies based on real-time data about student progress, making instruction more effective and personalized. An example of this would be, say if data shows that students are struggling with a particular concept, the teacher can adapt the lessons and revisit that area. So the teacher is learning, hey, maybe I shouldn't go to the next lesson yet because my students haven't grasped the last lesson that I just taught. So I need to review that until they understand it before I move on. And lastly, accountability. So a benefit of this is both teachers and students can set clear, measurable goals based on progress monitoring data, fostering a sense of accountability and focus. So an example of this would be a teacher might set a specific goal for improving students' reading comprehension, and the student can track the progress towards that goal. This way, both the teacher and the student have accountability in the learning process. So, when making your progress monitoring plan, you want to make something that you will actually use. It doesn't need to be fancy or digital, just consistent and clear. To do this, you want a plan that is easy to use, quick to update, consistent, and focus on what matters. The secret to progress monitoring is sustainability and simplicity. So, step one, in developing a progress monitoring plan in your classroom, you want to first start off by defining your priorities. Before you collect anything, get clear on what matters. Are you tracking for an IEP? Or are you tracking for critical academic or behavior skills? Whatever it is, identify what is most important for tracking. And keep in mind, don't try to track everything, just what's most essential. Ask yourself, what goals do I need to track? What skills, behaviors are critical? What does my team need to see? Now, to help us with developing a progress monitoring plan, we're going to be using our example, Ms. Carter here. And Ms. Carter is a 7th grade ELA teacher, and she has 5 students reading below grade level based on her beginning of the year benchmark assessments. Now, it is the beginning of the year, and maybe you've already done your benchmark assessments and you're trying to figure out, okay, what is it that I need to do for my students? Well, with this situation, it is clear. Ms. Carter needs to improve reading fluency and comprehension accuracy. For this, she can shoot for a 20% increase every 6 weeks. These goals are easy to track and are critical for student success. And as we go on, I'm going to show you what ways we can track these goals that we just defined in step 1. Step 2, choose a format that works for you. There's no universal data collection tool that works for everyone, so choose a format that fits your daily flow. Consider your teaching style. Are you constantly on the move, or do you have a structured routine with set stations? You might prefer a paper clipboard you can grab and go, like the picture on the right, or maybe a binder with tab sections, also illustrated on this slide. Or maybe you like a digital format like Google Forms, a spreadsheet, or even an app like Dojo or ABC Data Pro. There's so many different apps out there that you could use, but maybe you prefer an app. The goal here is to choose a method that's realistic to maintain consistently. If you don't enjoy it, you likely won't keep up with it. For me, I prefer a clipboard. I still use a planner and I write in it, so I need that paper. I need that texture. In the example that we use in step 1 with Ms. Carter, who has students who are reading below grade level, maybe she wants to use a binder where she can easily organize her students. Maybe if she's doing reading fluency, it might be best that she use a clipboard where she can easily tick off which words the students were able to understand, didn't know, or maybe using Google Sheets on the computer works for her. Whatever works for you, implement that. Step 3, create your tracking tools. They don't need to be pretty. They just need to be practical. At a minimum, each tool should clearly show what you're measuring, like task completion or instances of a behavior. Additionally, it needs to say when you're observing this behavior, date and time. And how is it being scored? Is it frequency, duration, prompt level, or other? For academic skills, include a space for task description and student response. For behaviors, include context like antecedents and consequences. When we look back at Ms. Carter in the example that we provided in our first step, she has students who are reading below grade level. And we determined that her priority was to improve reading fluency and comprehension accuracy for her students. If you look at the pictures on this slide, these are all ways to easily track reading progress. So the missing lunch is simply a short paragraph where a student can read and answer comprehension questions. And then next to it, we have a reading comprehension tracking sheet for all the weeks. And we even built in a review goal to remind us when to review the data. And we can just easily mark how many questions she got right for literal questions, inferential questions, and the total questions she got correct on this comprehension tracking sheet. And then for fluency daily practice, we can simply check off sight words that they're able to read and then track that on the reading fluency tracking sheet that I put next to the fluency daily practice sheet here. These are all easy ways. They're not difficult. They don't have to, you don't have to spend hours upon hours trying to figure out what you're going to do consistently. They're just simple ways for you to track whatever data you are. In this case, it's reading comprehension and fluency. Step 4, build data into routines. Effective data collection shouldn't feel like an extra task. Instead, integrate it into what you're already doing. For example, during morning work, jot down notes on task initiation or fine motor use. Maybe during centers, you might track goal-specific academic performance. When students are moving from one activity to another, that's a perfect time to observe behaviors like following directions or coping with change. The more natural your data collection feels, the more sustainable it becomes. Consider setting up visual reminders or designated data zones in your classroom to make it easy and consistent. So, using Ms. Carter once again, we see her daily schedule for her classroom. She starts off with a warm-up for 5 to 10 minutes. Then she jumped into a mini lesson, which is 10 to 15 minutes, and that's a whole group. Then she breaks off into stations for 15 to 30 minutes. And lastly, she ends with independent work for 10 to 15 minutes. Now, with her schedule, when we look at her schedule, there's a 15 to 30-minute block that she dedicates to stations in her class. During that time slot, she has 2 teacher tables that work with students on remedial support. I have highlighted teacher table 2 because this station is a great way to build in time to collect data for progress monitoring and discuss growth with students. She's already meeting with students, and it doesn't add or take away time for what she's already doing in her class. This is an easy way for her to infuse collecting data and reviewing data with the students right into what she's already doing in her class. Remember, we want to build data into our routines, something that we are already using because by this point in the year, you already have your routine in your classroom. So we want to put something into the routine that we're already using that helps us collect data. This last step, step 5, review and summarize regularly. This, I have to be honest, is the most challenging step for me as a former teacher. Remembering to review and summarize my data. I have no problems with collecting data. I have no problems with developing a system. It's just finding time to review and summarize my data, which is one of the things that I struggled with. But collecting data is only half the process. The real power is in reviewing it. So make sure to set aside time weekly to reflect on what's working, what's not. Are you seeing progress, stagnation, or regression? A quick 5-minute end of week review can help guide your instruction or prompt you to adjust supports. Monthly summaries are helpful for IEP updates, progress reports, or team meetings. Summarizing doesn't have to be complicated, just like developing the plan. Color-coded charts, simple graphs, or bullet point notes can go a long way in making your data meaningful and actionable. Now, as you see here, using Ms. Carter again, this was just an easy way for me to summarize the data that she would be collecting. And it's organized into 3 quarters with different colors. And we have the words per minute each student is able to read, and we have the goal. With this, we're able to easily look and see, okay, did Tim meet his goal for quarter 1? Did Jacob meet the goal? Did Oscar? And so on and so forth. It's very easy. I'm a visual learner, so I like to see something And this is easy for me to I quickly identify, okay, are my students making progress? Are they regressing? Or are they being stagnant? And trust me, your administrators are going to love this. Parents love seeing it as well. Please find a way to make sure you review and summarize your data. So, sustainability is key. If your data collection system is too complicated, it will quickly fall apart. So, start small. Track just 1 or 2 goals per student, especially at the beginning. Even train your paraprofessionals or support staff to help you collect or record data. Utilize those extra hands in your classroom. When I was teaching, that was the responsibility of my paraprofessionals. You track data. Oftentimes, there are paraprofessionals or support staff who aren't being utilized in the class. This is an excellent way for them to be utilized. It gives them a task so they feel included and responsible for. And it's one thing that you don't have to worry about because they're going to be tracking the data. So please use paraprofessionals or your support staff to help you do this. They can be valuable allies. And then post your data sheets or clipboards in an easy to access spot so they stay visible in the top of your mind. Maybe you don't put them on a clipboard because you'll lose it in your class. Your classroom's not one for being necessarily clean or organized. You have a lot going on. You want to find some way for you to remember consistently. You need to collect data and you need to also review that data. And remember, it's okay to adjust your system if it's not working. Simplicity and consistency always beat perfection. So don't worry about how it looks. Is it achieving the goal you intend? That's what's important in this case. So those are 5 easy, simple steps for creating a progress monitoring plan in your class. But let's practice. So we've learned about the 5 steps. Now we're going to use them in these scenarios. In our first scenario, we have a 5th grade math teacher who has just received her students' fall benchmark results. The data shows wide gaps in several skill areas, including basic math computation and multi-step problem solving. With limited time and a variety of learners, you realize that tracking everything will only create confusion and burnout. Instead, you need to narrow your focus. In this scenario, what is the priority? Now that I've read this scenario, what do you believe the priority is for this 5th grade teacher? Think about what is most essential for long-term success and aligns with your curriculum pacing. What skills, if mastered, will make the biggest difference? Keeping that in mind, the answer for this scenario is a focus on multi-step problem solving as it has the highest leverage skills for the next instructional cycle. Multi-step problem solving integrates several foundational skills like operations, place value, understanding, and logical sequencing. It's heavily emphasized in state standards and end-of-the-year assessments. And improvements in this area supports transfer to real-world contexts and other academic subjects like science. So for this 5th grade teacher, I recommend a multi-step problem solving as her focus for the students. Now to choose a format. Looking at this picture alone, we can tell that this teacher needs some help. The clipboard is obviously not working. It's a little junky. So for this scenario, you've been collecting data for years, but your current method, a clipboard with checklists, is becoming unmanageable, which we can tell. Papers are going missing, updates are inconsistent, and you're not finding the time to analyze it effectively. You're ready to try something new, but it has to work with your day-to-day flow. You don't want a system that adds complexity. And that's probably the case for most teachers. So choose a format that fits your teaching style. Listening to this scenario, given the teacher's frustration with paper-based checklists, missing data, and the inefficiency of manual updates, this teacher might benefit from a Google Sheet because it provides the ideal balance of simplicity, structure, and accessibility without adding any complexity. Using Google Sheets streamlines and centralizes all student data. Everything will be located in one place. The teacher will no longer have to worry about juggling paper or clipboards. The teacher can use tabs to keep everything organized by subject, student, or assessment period, mirroring the logic of their old system, but without physical clutter. With drop-down menus and conditional formatting, the sheet is easy to update during class. Just a few clicks to log behavior, scores, or observations. The teacher can enter data from a tablet, phone, or desktop, whether in class or during planning time. This format preserves the teacher need for ease and efficiency while unlocking new capabilities. So, creating your tracking tool. For this scenario, we have a high school biology teacher preparing to monitor lab skills for a group of students during a multi-week experiment unit. While the teacher has used rubrics in the past, you're finding it hard to track how individual students improve over time in areas like lab safety, data accuracy, and scientific reasoning. You want a way to document both formative and summative checkpoints across several weeks, but don't yet have a system in place. Your challenge is to create a tracking tool that allows you to observe, document, and respond to patterns in students' performance as they engage in hands-on activities. So, as you see here, I've included a middle school science lab skills checklist, which is kind of similar to what I recall using, or my teacher using in middle school. To make data routines manageable without having add extra work, this teacher can embed quick formative checks into transitions and in existing instructional activities. For instance, using the the last 35 minutes of class for an exit ticket, either digital via Google Forms or on a paper, can provide immediate feedback. With this, the teacher can easily check off, did the student follow all the steps in lab safety skills? Did they follow all teachers' instructions in the lab? Did they wear goggles, gloves, and an apron when required? Knows the location and proper use of safety equipment? Ties back hair and secures loose clothing? Handles glassware carefully? Never eats, drinks, or tastes chemicals in the labs? Cleans work area and returns materials properly? Demonstrates safe handle of heat sources. These are easy things for the teacher to simply check off to see if the student has completed what they need to do to complete these experiments and be safe during labs. Our last practice activity, build data into routines and review and summarize regularly. Here we have another middle school teacher, but this one's a social studies teacher with a class of 30 students and a packed daily schedule. You've recently committed to using formative assessment data to guide your instruction, but after a few weeks, you're falling behind on actually reviewing or even collecting data consistently. You realize that unless it's built into your daily or weekly routine, it's not going to happen. You now need to rethink how you use your instructional minutes, planning time, or technology to build data collection and review it into your workflow in a way that is manageable. Here, our goal is to identify opportunities in your current schedule where data routines could fit without adding extra work. Looking at this schedule once again, the teacher starts off her day by a bell ringer or warm-up activity, and this is done for 5 minutes. Following that, this teacher reviews the agenda, going over any homework or key points from yesterday, and they do this for another 5 minutes. After that, they have 15 minutes for direct instruction or a mini lesson where they introduce a new concept. Following this, they have guided practice for another 15 minutes where students work in pairs or group activity, and the teacher circulates the class. Following this, there's a 7-minute period for independent practice and an exit task. Students complete a short response to check for understanding for that day's activity, and then the teacher concludes the day with a wrap up, a transition where they review the essential question, collect materials, and prepare for the next class. So when we look at this schedule and how the teacher can build data into their routine and review this data, we determined that the teacher can embed quick formative checks into transitions and instructional activities. For instance, using the last 3 minutes of class for an exit ticket, either via Google Forms or one on paper, can provide immediate feedback on student understanding without disrupting the lesson flow. Additionally, she can assign, or he can assign short reflection prompts or self-assessments during an independent work time, which allows students to engage in metacognition while giving the teacher useful data. During planning time, the teacher can designate one consistent 15 to 20-minute block each week, perhaps on Friday. It's a good time. You've done all the lessons throughout the week, so Friday is a good time to review all the content that you've learned or taught your kids throughout the week. Afternoons or early in the week to quickly review data, trends, and adjust any upcoming lessons for the following week. By pairing these activities with auto grading tools and simple color-coded trackers, the teachers can make data review part of the normal instruction rather than making it something added that the teacher has to do, which is not the intent of what we're trying to do with our progress monitoring plan. So, the key takeaways for designing a progress monitoring plan for your classroom. Remember, start simple, choose manageable data collection methods that fit your classroom. Equally as important is stay consistent. Consistency builds reliable patterns for decision making. Use data with purpose. Connect data to instruction, IEP goals, and student growth. Keep it teacher friendly. Systems should save time, not add stress. As a teacher, you have many things that you are stressed about and that you have to worry about. Progress monitoring should not be one of those if done correctly. Lastly, collaborate and share. Involve staff, families, and students when possible, especially if you are doing a behavior plan for a student. Make sure all the teachers are collecting the data in their classroom. So definitely involve all staff. But families, oftentimes parents want to also help at home. So this is an excellent way for you to say, hey, I'm using this progress monitoring plan in my classroom. You can use this at home, especially if it's for something like behaviors. When we have an IEP meeting, you can bring your data, I can bring my data, and we can review what is working and what's not. And then for students, it's a great way for students to be accountable for their learning and to motivate them to do better. Remember, the best data system is the one you'll actually use. So make sure it is something that you've created, that you find easy to use, or that is simple enough for you. Now let's plan your system. What's your current challenge in your class? What are some things that you feel I should probably be tracking in my classroom? And then think about, okay, what format works best? Should I use a clipboard? Should I use a binder? Should I use something on the computer? Should I use an app that I can use on my phone that I can easily walk around and collect data? Determine what format works best for you. And then think about what's one change for this week that I can implement moving forward. Remember, progress monitoring is a great tool for you in your classroom, but it's not to be used to stress you out. So keep it simple. You don't have to track everything, but you should be tracking something. Here are my references.